In this video, we glaze the blade of a force sword. We begin by base coating the blade with techless blue, which from henceforth I shall refer to as the mid-tone blue. This is going to be the foundational color for the entire blade. In this process, I'm going to be following a similar process to when I did the power swords, but I'm going to be tryharding more. So I'll walk you through the whole thing. Alright, so we're starting here with techless blue. That is our mid-tone blue. And then we're going to move up in tone and we're going to move down in tone. We're going to move up first with electric blue. And then we're going to take some white and mix it in with the electric blue to lighten it up. And then head downward, we're going to use enchanted blue, which is a darker blue. And then we're going to use this nauseating blue, which is actually more of a purple. So I'm going to start with electric blue, and I'm going to make a glaze out of this with Vallejo Glaze Medium. To make this glaze, I'm going to put a tiny bit of electric blue on my palette. I'm using a wet palette for this because it's going to take a while, and it'll keep my glazes hydrated. And then I'm going to take the glaze medium, shake it up really good, and I'm going to put a couple of drops in over the enchanted blue, and I want probably a little more than 50% of this to be glaze medium. And then I'm going to take my brush that I use for mixing my paints and getting them out of pots. I'm going to fill it up with water, and then I'm going to mix this in so that I have paint and I have glaze medium and I have water, and it's going to make a very thin consistency, and this is what is properly referred to as a glaze. I cannot give you exact measurements for this, but I can show you the effect that you're looking for. So you know you're at the right consistency for your glaze when you take your brush and fill it up with the glaze, and then you're going to take your brush and you're going to wick it out on a piece of paper towel and remove most of the paint. Then paint this on your fingernail, and you want something that is mostly translucent, or I guess transparent or translucent, where you can like see through. This is okay. It might even be a little too thick. It worked for me. If it's too thin, you can add more paint. If it's too thick, you can add more water glaze medium. All right, so I've put the glaze on my brush, I've wicked it out, and now I'm gonna run it mostly with the flat of the brush over the top. Then I'm gonna clean it out, and while my brush, I'm gonna dry it off a little bit, but while it's still damp, I'm gonna run it through the border to kind of pull the paint back. I actually made a glaze of enchanted blue, and I forgot to show you, but I'm gonna do the same thing. Fill up the brush, wick it out, run the flat of it across, and then use a damp brush to push the paint in and pull it back out. And I'm gonna repeat this process over and over again until I'm happy with what it looks like. And I'm going for a little more smoother transitions and cooler effects on this force blade than I did before. At this point, I'm pretty happy with the tone up and the tone down, so I'm going to make a glaze out of that original techless blue, and I'm going to run it from the top and the bottom into the middle to help smooth out those transitions anymore. The point at which you pick your brush up is the point at which you want the color to be the strongest. So I'm kind of reinforcing the mid-tone blue in the middle and smoothing out the transitions in the tone up and the tone down, and I'm going to feather out the borders again to make those transitions even smoother. All right, I'm going to push the contrast even more by taking the electric blue, mixing in some white, and making a glaze out of that. Each time I change the tone, I glaze up or down a shorter distance on the force sword because, you know, I want that transition as you're moving along. All right, for our darkest tone, we're going to do nauseating blue. Here's the glaze medium. We're going to make a glaze. We're going to do the same thing. Flat of the blade, and then feather out the transition a little bit. I decided to mess around with a little bit of blending while I was doing this. So here I'm putting the highest tone glaze, then I'm cleaning my brush, getting some glaze of the next tone down, and just pulling that down and using that to smooth out the transition a little bit. And then I'm even going to go and grab the glaze of the mid-tone, and I'm going to pull that into it as well. This whole time, I'm also going back and I'm using darker glazes to kind of smooth out transitions, and I'm just playing around with it until I get an effect that I really enjoy. Alright, now I'm just going to take some pure white with a regular paint consistency and just do a tiny bit of edge highlighting here at the tip to create this most bright point up here at the end. Alright, the last thing that I want to tackle here is this swirly thing. And I think what I'm going to do is try to reproduce the overall effect on the blade using the same colors, but do it on the swirly thing, and I'm going to end with black. So here is my attempt of doing that off camera because it's so tiny and fiddly, and I did it on both sides. And, you know, I think I'm pretty happy with that. And that's how I did the Force Sword. There's a lot of different ways that you can do power weapons. I like glazing. You just need a little bit of patience, but I think it gets a pretty good effect. And again, the more time, and the more layers, and the more feathering you do, the smoother transitions. And so on a HQ or commander character like this, spend a little more time, got a cooler effect. Well, that is how I have been hobbying lately. If you'd let me know if you've been hobbying lately down in the comments below, I'd love to check it out.